Chosen one, stop. Not in a moment, not after this thought finishes right now. Put everything down, close the other tabs, silence the background noise. Take one slow breath in through your nose. Hold it for 3 seconds. Now release it. Do you feel that? The slight shift in your chest. The way the air around you just changed. That wasn't accidental. That was heaven making space. This moment you're in right now is not random. This video finding you today, at this exact hour, in this exact season of your life. That's not coincidence. That's divine interruption. God just stepped into your timeline and said, this one needs to hear this alone. This one needs to be still. This one needs to understand that what I'm about to say cannot be heard in chaos. Listen carefully, because I'm not here to comfort you with soft words. I'm here to confirm what your spirit already knows. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That restlessness, that sense that something is shifting beneath the surface of your life. That quiet knowing that you're being prepared for something you can't yet name. It's not anxiety. It's not fear. It's the sound of God rearranging things in the invisible realm before they manifest in your visible reality. You are in a sacred holding pattern right now, not stuck, not delayed. Held, and heaven is about to explain why you've been isolated, why certain doors closed without explanation, why some relationships grew silent, why your prayers felt like they were bouncing off the ceiling, and why peace has been so hard to find lately. If your heart just skipped when you read that, if something in you whispered, yes, that's exactly what I've been feeling, then you're exactly where you need to be. Don't leave this moment. Don't rush away to distraction. What's about to be spoken is fragile. It requires your full attention. It requires silence. It requires you to set aside what you think you know and listen with your spirit, not your mind. Because God doesn't always speak in words you expect. Sometimes he speaks in the stillness between your thoughts. Sometimes he speaks in the pause you almost skipped over. And right now, he's speaking directly to you. If that resonated somewhere deep, if you felt seen without explanation, write "I'm listening" in the comments. Not for me, not for anyone watching, but as a quiet agreement with heaven that you're willing to stay present for what comes next. Chosen one, let's speak truth about what's been happening. You've been feeling misunderstood lately. Not by everyone, not all the time, but in specific moments with specific people. You've noticed a distance you didn't create. You've noticed reactions you didn't cause. You've noticed tension you didn't initiate. And it's confused you because you haven't changed your behavior. You haven't become cold or distant or unkind. If anything, you've become quieter, more careful, more intentional. And somehow, that very shift is what's unsettling people around you. They can't name it. They can't explain it, but they feel it. Your peace bothers their chaos. Your stillness exposes their noise. Your boundaries challenge their access. And instead of asking you what's changed, they've started testing you, poking at old wounds to see if you'll react the way you used to, bringing up past versions of you to see if you'll defend yourself, mentioning things they know trigger you to see if you're still as predictable as you once were. And here's what God wants you to understand. That's not personal, that's spiritual. You are transitioning out of a frequency you used to operate on, and people who are still on that frequency can sense the shift even if they can't articulate it. You used to engage with every debate. You used to defend every misunderstanding. You used to explain yourself when you felt misrepresented. But lately, you just don't have the energy for it anymore. Not because you're defeated, because you're discerning. You've realized that not every accusation deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding requires correction. Not every person who misinterprets you is owed an explanation. And that restraint, that holy silence, that refusal to be provoked, it's not weakness, it's maturity, it's wisdom. It's you finally understanding that your energy is sacred, and not everyone has earned access to it. God has been whispering to you in the quiet moments, hasn't he? He's been showing you things about people, about situations, about patterns you didn't see before. And it's not that he's making you paranoid or suspicious, he's making you perceptive. There's a difference. Paranoia sees danger everywhere. Discernment sees truth clearly. And what you've been feeling isn't fear, it's clarity. You're starting to see motives beneath words, intentions beneath actions, energy beneath smiles. And it's disorienting because some of the people you trusted most are the ones whose energy feels off now. Some of the environments you once called home no longer feel safe. Some of the conversations you used to enjoy now feel exhausting, and you've been questioning yourself, wondering if you're being too sensitive, too guarded, too distant. But God says no, you're not being too anything. You're being exactly what this season requires, protected. If you've been questioning your own discernment, if you've been second-guessing what your spirit is telling you, type, "I trust what I'm sensing" below. Say it out loud to yourself. Let heaven hear your agreement. Let me tell you what's really happening. God is preparing you for an assignment that requires a different version of you. Not a harder version, not a colder version, a wiser version. A version that doesn't need validation from people who don't understand your calling. A version that doesn't need approval from people who aren't going where you're going. A version that doesn't need to be liked by everyone, because you finally understand that not everyone is supposed to be in your circle. And this preparation, this pruning, this uncomfortable season of separation, it's not punishment, it's positioning. Every person who walked away made room for someone aligned. Every door that closed protected you from a path that would have delayed you. Every disappointment that confused you was actually a redirection you'll thank God for later. But here's the part that's hard. You're grieving, not loudly, not publicly, but quietly, in the moments when you're alone and the silence feels too heavy. You're grieving the loss of people who are still alive, relationships that didn't end but just faded, connections that didn't break but just went quiet. And it hurts in a way that's hard to explain because there was no fight, no betrayal, no dramatic falling out, just distance, just drift, just the slow realization that you're not on the same page anymore. And you've been wondering if you should reach out, if you should try harder, if you should fight for what used to be. But every time you think about it, you feel that gentle resistance in your spirit, that quiet "not yet" from God, that subtle knowing that some things are meant to rest in silence for now. And the chosen one, that's okay. You don't have to force anything right now. You don't have to fix anything right now. You don't have to make sense of anything right now. This is a season of release, not rescue. A season of letting go, not holding on. A season of trusting God with the people and things you used to manage yourself. Because the truth is, you were never meant to carry the weight of other people's growth. You were never meant to force people to see your value. You were never meant to convince anyone that you're worth keeping. The right people will know. The aligned people will stay. The divinely connected people won't need convincing. If you've been holding on to relationships that God has been asking you to release, if you've been trying to force connections that no longer flow, write "I'm ready to let go" in the comments, not as a declaration of bitterness, but as an act of trust. Now, let's talk about what you're stepping into, because this isn't just about what you're leaving behind. It's about what you're moving toward. God has been building something in you during this quiet season. Something you can't see yet, but you can feel. A new level of authority, a new depth of wisdom, a new strength in your spirit that doesn't need to prove itself. You're not the same person you were 6 months ago. You're not the same person you were last year. Your tolerance for dysfunction has decreased. Your need for external validation has diminished. Your capacity to sit in discomfort without panicking has expanded. Your ability to discern truth from performance has sharpened. And all of that, every single shift, every uncomfortable moment of growth, it's been preparing you for what's coming next. Because what's coming next requires a version of you that can't be shaken by other people's opinions. A version of you that can't be manipulated by guilt. A version of you that can't be pulled off course by distraction. The version of you that knows who you are, whose you are, and where you're going, regardless of who's walking beside you or who's walking away. This next season is going to require you to stand alone, sometimes to make decisions that other people don't understand, to set boundaries that other people don't respect, to walk paths that other people don't co-sign, And you can't do that if you're still looking for permission. You can't do that if you're still seeking approval. You can't do that if you're still afraid of being misunderstood. Share this video with someone who's in their own season of separation and doesn't understand why. Someone who's been isolated and doesn't know it's actually preparation. Someone who needs to know they're not alone in this transition. You know who it is. Send it to them right now. Chosen one, I need you to hear this. Your isolation is intentional. Your separation is strategic. Your silence is sacred. God hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't abandoned you. He hasn't left you behind. He's setting you apart. And there's a difference. Being left behind means you're not moving. Being set apart means you're being positioned. And right now, in this very moment, you are being positioned for something significant. Something that requires a clear mind. Something that requires a clean heart. Something that requires a spirit that's not weighed down by the opinions and expectations of people who don't understand your assignment. Now let's go deeper, because there's something else God wants to address. Something you haven't said out loud, but you've been carrying silently. You've been feeling guilty about your growth. Guilty that you're not the same person you used to be. Guilty that you can't engage with certain people the way you once did. Guilty that you've outgrown environments that others still find comfortable. Guilty that your boundaries have created distance, and that guilt has been whispering lies to you. It's been telling you that you've changed for the worse, that you've become too selective, too guarded, too unavailable. But chosen one, that's not truth. That's the voice of people-pleasing, trying to pull you back into patterns God already delivered you from. Growth is supposed to change you. Healing is supposed to shift your tolerance. Wisdom is supposed to alter your choices. You're not being difficult. You're being discerning. You're not being distant. You're being intentional. You're not being cold. You're being careful. And there's nothing wrong with protecting your peace. There's nothing wrong with guarding your energy. There's nothing wrong with saying no to things that cost you more than they give you. You spent too many years saying yes to everything and everyone, and it left you empty, depleted, resentful. So God had to teach you a new language, the language of boundaries, the language of self-preservation, the language of honoring yourself the way you've been honoring others. If you've been feeling guilty for setting boundaries, if you've been second-guessing your right to protect your peace, write, "My peace is not selfish" in the comments. Declare it, own it, let that truth settle in your spirit. Let's talk about the attacks you've been experiencing. Because yes, you're under attack. Not physical attacks, not obvious attacks, subtle ones, strategic ones, attacks disguised as concern, attacks disguised as jokes, attacks disguised as innocent questions. People asking about your decisions in ways that feel like interrogation. People commenting on your changes in ways that feel like criticism. People expressing worry about you in ways that feel like judgment. And you've been trying to explain yourself, trying to justify your choices, trying to make people understand. But every time you do, you feel drained, because you're defending something that doesn't need defense. You're explaining something that doesn't need explanation. You're justifying something that only needs to be obeyed. God says stop. Stop explaining your obedience to people who aren't on assignment with you. Stop defending your boundaries to people who benefit from you having none. Stop justifying your peace to people who profit from your chaos. Not everyone deserves access to your reasoning. Not everyone has earned the right to question your process. Not everyone is equipped to understand your assignment. And that's okay. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. Let them misunderstand. Your job is not to make them comfortable with your growth. Your job is to stay obedient to what God is requiring of you, even when it looks strange to everyone else. Because here's what's really happening in the spiritual realm. The enemy knows what you're about to step into. He knows the doors that are about to open. He knows the favor that's about to be released. He knows the influence that's about to be activated. And he's terrified. Not of where you've been, but of where you're going. So he's using the people closest to you to create doubt, to create guilt, to create second-guessing. He's hoping that if he can make you question your own discernment enough times, you'll start ignoring it. He's hoping that if he can make you feel guilty for your boundaries enough times, you'll start removing them. He's hoping that if he can make you feel isolated enough times, you'll run back to familiar dysfunction, just to feel connected again. If you're feeling the weight of spiritual warfare right now, if you recognize these subtle attacks for what they are, type, "I see the strategy" below. Naming it removes its power. Recognizing it protects you from it. But chosen one, listen, the attacks only confirm that you're on the right path. The resistance only validates that you're moving towards something significant. The discomfort only proves that you're outgrowing what used to fit. If the enemy wasn't worried, he wouldn't be working this hard. If your growth wasn't threatening to his plans, he wouldn't be trying so desperately to reverse it. So take the warfare as confirmation, take the isolation as protection, take the misunderstanding as a sign that you're operating on a frequency most people can't access yet. You're not losing your mind, you're gaining discernment. You're not losing relationships, you're gaining clarity about which relationships were seasonal and which are foundational. You're not losing yourself, you're finding the version of yourself that God always intended you to be. Now, here's what God is asking you to do. Stay still, not passive. Still, there's a difference. Passivity is giving up, stillness is trusting, passivity is checking out. Stillness is staying present while God works. And right now, God needs you still because he's moving pieces on your behalf that you can't see yet. He's closing doors you didn't know were dangerous. He's opening doors you didn't know existed. He's removing people who would have hindered the next phase. He's positioning people who are aligned with where you're going. He's clearing paths. He's making ways. He's orchestrating details. And all of it requires you to trust him without needing to see the full picture. If you're willing to stay still even when stillness feels uncomfortable. If you're willing to trust God's timing even when you don't understand it. Leave a comment that says, "I'll wait on you." God, let heaven hear your surrender. Let me tell you what's about to shift. The fog is about to clear. The confusion is about to lift. The answers you've been praying for are about to come. Not all at once, not in the dramatic way you might expect, but in quiet confirmations, in subtle revelations, in moments where everything suddenly makes sense. You're going to look back on this season and understand why certain people had to leave, why certain doors had to close, why certain opportunities had to pass you by. You're going to see the protection in what felt like rejection. You're going to see the blessing in what felt like loss. You're going to see the strategy in what felt like chaos. And you're going to thank God that he loved you enough to not give you what you thought you wanted, because what he's preparing is so much better. But until that clarity comes, you have to hold on to what you know. You know God is faithful. You know he hasn't brought you this far to leave you. You know that every closed door has served a purpose. You know that your isolation has been intentional. You know that your growth has been necessary. You know that your boundaries have been protective. Hold on to that. When people question you, hold on to that. When doubt creeps in, hold on to that. When loneliness feels overwhelming, hold on to that. You are exactly where you need to be. You are exactly who you need to be. And you are exactly on time for everything God has planned. Subscribe if you need these reminders to keep finding you. If you need a voice that speaks to the part of you that others don't understand. If you need confirmation that you're not crazy for honoring what your spirit is telling you, hit that subscribe button as a commitment to yourself to keep listening. Chosen one, before we close, I need you to receive this. What you're carrying right now is not meant to be carried forever. The weight you feel, the burden of being misunderstood, the loneliness of being set apart, the exhaustion of spiritual warfare, it's temporary. This season has an expiration date, and when it ends, when you step into what's next, you're going to understand why it had to be this hard. You're going to understand why you had to be this strong. You're going to understand why you had to be this careful, because what's coming requires someone who can't be easily shaken, someone who can't be easily manipulated, someone who can't be easily distracted. And that someone is who you're becoming right here, right now, in this uncomfortable, confusing, isolating season. So don't despise this process, don't resent this preparation, don't resist this refinement. Embrace it, trust it, honor it, Because on the other side of this, there's a version of you that's stronger, wiser, clearer, and more aligned than you've ever been. There's a version of you that walks in authority without needing to announce it. A version of you that carries peace without needing to defend it. A version of you that knows your worth without needing to prove it. And that version of you is being formed right now, in the silence, in the stillness, in the separation. God is not finished with you. He's just getting started. If this message landed exactly where you needed it, if it felt like it was written specifically for your situation, write, "This was for me" in the comments. Not because I need to know, but because speaking it out loud makes it real. It makes your agreement with heaven tangible. Remember this, chosen one. Your silence is not weakness. Your stillness is not stagnation. Your boundaries are not barriers. Your peace is not passivity. You are in divine preparation. You are under heavenly protection. You are being strategically positioned, and everything, absolutely everything, is working together for your good. Stay close to God. Stay true to what He's showing you. Stay obedient to what He's requiring of you. Even when it's lonely, even when it's misunderstood, even when it's hard, because on the other side of your obedience is everything you've been praying for. Stay still, chosen one. Stay focused. Stay faithful. Heaven is watching, and God is not finished speaking yet.